What's up, my people? And in this video, I got a very, very, very special guest, my guy, Bryan Casella. And we're gonna talk about how to be the top real estate agent in uncertain times in your territory. Stay tuned.
Jamal, man, this beat is crazy.
I'm Blake, and I mean, this man doesn't need an introduction, but I'm gonna give him one anyway. Bryan Casella, shout out to Team BC. I mean, just relocated to Miami, so if you're looking to get into real estate, please reach out to him. What's the email they can reach you at?
teambcsold@gmail.
Okay, and we're gonna get into just how to become the best realtor in your territory, and we're gonna really get into some good questions. So, first question I wanna ask you, bro, so it seems like we may be going into another lockdown, so like, how important is it to have a social media presence in 2021?
So if you're in Florida, you're not going to be locked down again. You don't have to worry about it. But a lot of the other places you will. Social media is key because not only does it help you in times like these, but the social media following that you can build, and it doesn't have to be big, it provides a platform that really is difficult to emulate, right? You look at back in the day when somebody, as an example, took over like a real estate business. Let's say I wanted to take over yours. In essence, what I would do is I would spend money to purchase your database, which is a potential gold mine for deals. Or another way of doing it would be I pay for it too, and then any deal I would close from it, I'd give you a cut because we would negotiate that, right?
Gotcha.
Building a social media platform is like doing that, except you don't have to pay for it, right? It takes time, and there's a lot that you have to do, but it's one of those things now in 2021, bro, that is essential, right? In the whole lockdown thing, we dealt with that bullshit, right? The essential, non-essential.
Tell me about it.
This is essential now. If we're gonna play that game, your social media presence and platform is essential 100%, and if you don't have it, you're really working against yourself at this point. Because let's say I meet Blake, right? And let's say he's an agent and he's gonna help me buy or sell a house. Well, when I leave and I've met him, I'm probably out of curiosity gonna do a Google search or something 100%. To look him up. And if I don't see anything of him online, is the immediate perception negative or positive?
Negative. It's like I have no trust.
Right. Yeah. It's like who's this guy, right? Maybe he's a serial killer. I don't know. Maybe he's trying to hide his identity, right? So those types of thoughts go in your head. So social media, man, is 100% important. And the way you build it is just by being consistent. I know that's such like the average advice. Yeah, we're done. You're good. But it's really the most important thing because we could get together and do high-level production and the craziest types of stuff with all the bells and whistles. But if we only post once every 2, 3, 4 weeks,
100%.
How are we going to get discovered? I got discovered initially because of my consistency.
On which platform?
Yeah, on all of them.
Okay.
All of them. Because my quality wasn't good. I never used a mic. The first years, 3, 4 years I was on YouTube, I just used a phone like this. Right? I didn't do anything special.
Well, you brought up a great point. So a lot of people think you have to have the best quality equipment, like the lavalier mic with the Canon camera, all this. And so you're telling me you just used a simple iPhone with a tripod?
Like even you shot the intro before we shot this video. I never did that. I would just turn on, start talking, make mistakes, but keep going, and then shut it off. I would shoot it, shut it off, upload it directly through the app to YouTube. Or back then, I don't think they had the app. I had to transfer it to my computer with a USB port onto the desktop, and then I would upload it to YouTube.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just based on, I know a lot of people may not know this yet if you don't know Bryan, but when you follow him, you'll see like you have a biggest presence on YouTube. What do you think attributed to that? Because I mean, you got close to 200K on YouTube right now.
Well, a lot of it, I think, was the type of content I was doing. I was doing very like live, in your face, raw type of content. Gotcha. I shared my journey, right? I didn't necessarily vlog, but I was showing cold calls, showing interactions with my clients, uploading testimonials, giving people the real day-to-day of what an actual working real estate agent building their business from the ground up was doing. And that was like the first 3, 4 years. The only thing that I can say attributed to it besides that was collaborations. I collaborated with a lot of people outside of my industry and even real estate, but with things that I enjoyed. Like I first started introducing like cars and the car community into my YouTube because that's what I loved. Now I'm not so attached to it anymore, but I was very involved with it back then, and I said, man, I need to start showing people what I'm about. They know what I'm about in a sense because of how I express myself, but they don't really see what I'm doing outside of just making these videos. So why don't I bring in some of my other interests and hobbies and friendships into this? And I started bringing in a bunch of people who, like some dating coaches and social dynamics people, the car community and all this other stuff. And all of a sudden, that's when my following really started to explode because now I'm opening doors to all these other people and opportunities that otherwise I wouldn't have opened if I didn't start talking about it. Because most people are afraid to do it.
They are.
I'm the real estate guy. I can only talk about real estate. Who told you that?
Right.
I don't know anybody who was successful who would give me that advice. If anything, you look at people who are successful, a lot of their content on social media is like more personal than it is about business.
100%.
It gets boring and repetitive for me to, oh, here's a new listing. Oh, we did this. It's like when you got your first listing and you posted it, it probably got like 500 likes. Like, congratulations, man. But by the third one, they're like, stop showing off, loser.
Yeah.
You know, like they start like almost hating on you. But it's not that they're hating. It's just you're doing the same thing over and over. And we know in marketing, the moment you're predictable, you're dead. So
oh, that's a bar. The moment you're predictable, you're dead.
Yep.
Which leads me to my next question, bro. So how can you get listings right now? Because it seems like having a listing right now is like having Bitcoin. So like, what's the way to get listings right now?
You got to find where the listings are, right? Referrals are huge right now. Let's say you're brand new. So, okay, referrals are off the table. Social media can definitely get you some business, particularly using hashtags and then making videos. As an example, right? I'm in Miami. I would do videos at the beach, top 5 places to move to in Miami, right? Top 5 reasons to move to Florida. Like I would start doing videos like that people think, well, those videos exist and you haven't made one. And number 2, how many realtors have made that specifically promoting themselves and giving details? I could go on Google and search and make a video on the top 5 reasons to move to Florida, but now that I'm here, I can give you a different perspective and make a different type of video that would connect with somebody because I'm actually living here,
You're in the
right?
trenches, yeah.
But everyone will not make that content because they think, oh, it's overhyped and everybody's done it. No, they haven't. So from a social media aspect, that's one. Number 2, people who own investment properties right now, because of the moratoriums, a lot of them are struggling. I've been telling people for months now, a year actually, go after absentee owners. There's listings there. Some people can't hold their property and afford it if their tenant isn't paying them and they want out. Now, before they get foreclosed on and it gets taken from them, if they have a mortgage, you could come in and sell the property. And there's a lot of people ready to buy, as we've seen in the market.
Yes.
Inventory's low, demand is sky high.
Yes.
So that's a simple way that if you get on the phones, that's a quick way to get a listing. When I first got started, my second listing was an absentee owner. And when I tracked the numbers, even though I was brand new, I think every 28 conversations I was having in the beginning, I was setting an appointment with an absentee owner to list a home, a listing appointment, every 28 conversations.
Wow.
And if you're doing 10 contacts an hour, that's every 3 hours, boom, I'm getting an appointment.
That's incredible. So how are you getting these, getting in touch with these absentee owners through just the MLS network? Like you would just skip trace them? Like how are you getting in touch with them?
Great question. I was subscribed to softwares, RedX, Vulcan 7, Cole Realty Resource, Haynes Directory, which I can give you a list if you want to put it later in the comments.
Absolutely.
I just subscribe to those because you got to think about it, right? I have time and I have money. If I can use money to get more time, I'm going to do that every time.
100%.
Otherwise, if you look through the MLS and let's say you want to get an expireds number, good luck doing reverse searches and all that. You're going to spend all your prospecting time digging up one number that might be wrong and not even in service, and then when you call it, you wasted your time, right?
Yes.
So I recommend people get on the softwares. Most of them are affordable, but they save you a lot of time and they keep you on the phone and in front of people where that's where you make the money.
And I haven't met a millionaire who hasn't said what he just said. He said that he would spend more money to buy his time back, and that is so traditional for a millionaire to say that. Like people don't understand how important it is to not waste your time doing low profit producing activities.
Yes.
So my next question is like, what should you do if you want to like be able to have leads coming on a predictable and a consistent basis? Because I mean, I see that you door knocking, a lot of your team does, but like door knocking takes time, but it's effective.
Yes.
So what do you recommend someone do like as a realtor to get consistent predictable leads?
Well, you know, if you really want to get predictable and consistent leads, you have to first build that momentum, right? They're not just going to suddenly pop up. So you have a lot of routes that you can go here. I always recommend to people that they do the old school stuff because it builds a foundation for you. You can implement your systems with it to build your database, which then over time start giving you a consistent funnel of leads and you know, business. But it builds the skill, and you need the skill. Because the next step after that is investing into your business and taking some of those initial profits and doing Facebook ads, right, Instagram, and that kind of stuff. However, if you could do that first and you don't have the skills and the systems, you're going to throw your money away, right? I call the lead, I'm on the phone, I don't have the skill, what the hell do I say? I don't know how to close. Or the system. What if I get them and they're not ready now? Well, where am I going to put them to stay in touch? Exactly. How do you nurture? So that's why it's a two-step system. And I really think people need systems. They need the consistency of doing some of these activities, going after 3 or 4 lead sources as an example, and then really building their skills. You know, if you're brand new, your first 2 or 3 years should be just invested in that, and you'll do enough business to make money. But once that foundation is set of the skills and the systems, and then that time you've spent now prospecting and, you know, doing the ads, if you started adding them, you'll now create that flow. It's like a snowball, right? Rolling down the hill.
Yep.
It's small at first, but as it accumulates more snow, it gets bigger and it goes faster and faster. That's what you have to do in any sales business. You're not just gonna start and then next week I'm gonna talk to you and you're like, oh yeah, I already have 10 listings. It's not gonna happen that way.
So great point. And it kind of leads into the next question I want to ask you. So like, I asked 10 realtors what a quality lead means.
Okay.
I get 12 answers. So when you have a referral versus a actual lead that comes from online, the expectation should be different, right? Because like, let's just say I referred to you, one of my friends want to buy a house here or sell a house.
Yeah.
Like, if they don't answer you, I can call them and be like, hey, get back in touch with Bryan. But if it's an online lead, it's less of a relationship.
Yeah.
So like, how do you manage, because I think the expectation when I deal with clients is like the expectation of an online lead is so different from a referral. So how would you manage that?
Well, we first have to define what an actual lead is, right?
Correct.
If we're gonna say what an actual lead is or an actual legit prospect, it's somebody who's ready, willing, and able, right?
Okay.
Ready, willing, and able. Ready to do it now. Willing, you're going to do it now, and then able. Can you qualify to buy a house, or can you qualify to sell the house? You have equity, and you can move, right? Period. So that kind of covers all the fronts of, they want to do it now, and they actually can do it. Right. So that to me is the best description of what a bona fide actual lead is. Now it's just a matter of you closing them for the meeting, getting the contract signed, and then moving forward, right?
Okay.
So obviously there's going to be varying degrees and scales of that. You know, somebody who's online who maybe came in through your social media or you haven't really had much contact with or a live conversation with, those are a little bit colder, right?
Yes.
And they may, in many cases, require multiple reach outs. That's where the system comes into place. I need to say, okay, online lead comes in, and it comes in, what's the next step? You need to have that all lined out. Is it an immediate text message and phone call? And then if they don't answer, you do it again at 5 p.m. And then the next day you try it again, and then a week later you try it again. What's that process going to be? Because everybody's different.
Yes.
But for each type of lead, you have to have a process. Referral comes in, we establish contact, right? One of the things that we do is we keep whoever sent us the referral in contact. So I can say, hey, Blake, I've reached out to Bob 3 times in the last 72 hours, no response. I'm just giving you an update. You might want to shoot him a text or let him know, right? Now he can get in contact with him and do it. You can't do that with an online lead.
Can't.
But I have to have a process. Now, we can sit here and argue about who has the best process, but the main thing is you need one. Create it. Even if you're brand new and you don't have any idea, think, how would I want to stay in touch with this person? And you need to be versatile. That's the key. You can't just call or just text or just send them handwritten notes. You need to do a little bit of everything. We send video, we send text, we send email, we send mailers, we call, right? We do in-person visits sometimes, right? We do the little handwritten note. I mean, we do a lot to stay in front of people, because what did I say earlier?
Being top of mind.
Predictable, you're dead.
You're dead,
right? And if somebody keeps seeing your number on the phone, they can tune you out real quick. So every time they see Bryan, they're like, ignore,
They're pressing that red button.
But if I send you a text, you're more likely to open it. If I send you a video, you're really going to watch it most of the time.
And then an audio message.
Yeah, audio message too, exactly. So you have so many different ways, but you got to have a process for these leads, definition of what a lead is, because your system is based on that definition of what a lead is. If a lead for you is sells in 30 days or less, and they say, I want to sell in a year, that's not a lead. You got to have a category to put them in, right?
Exactly. They're not willing.
Exactly. So you have to have these things defined, but that is in the end user, meaning the agent, on them to go in and create these systems. Because you can listen to me, Blake, or a million different people who are going to give you a million different systems. You need to pick one and stick with it. But all these things have to be defined, and all the tasks within these systems need to be defined. And that takes time, and it requires you to go in there and fill in those blanks.
And be having the clarity. So what's I want to be specific with this question, because this can be a broad question. So what's a typical day for a realtor on your team who's just starting out?
Just starting out, it's going to be circled around 3 things. A lot of prospecting, right? It's a lot of education and role playing and training, right? And then attending appointments or additional prospecting. So as an example, right? Let's say a new agent comes into the office at 8. Normally they'll role play for 30 minutes to get prepared. 8:30 to about 12:30, they're on the phones or they're on the doors. 12:30 to 1:30, we'll have lunch, a break, lead follow-up. right? 1:30 to about 3:30. They're doing any administrative activities on current deals.
Wow.
We're doing more training. They're doing more role playing, right? I'm educating them and coming in and doing a training for the team, like on Zoom or in person, if that's my office, like I was back in LA. And then from about 3:34 until 6 or 6:30, it's either we're out on appointments and they're going to shadow us on an appointment.
Okay.
They're going on their own appointments or additional prospecting and lead generation,
Gotcha.
right? Because it's in the off time before they're at the office or after that we've discussed with them. That's when you refine your systems and all that. When you're at the office to work, you're working. You're either training or you're talking to customers. That's it. Or you're out on appointments. So that's working in the business, working on the businesses all those other times, either before or after. So sometimes in the evening we'll have a Zoom call too, and we'll help organize the systems, but that's after work hours. You get what I'm saying?
100%.
So those
100%.
8-9 hours that they're working, more than half of it is lead generation, lead generation, lead generation. Now, when you graduate later, you'll have ISAs, you have people calling for you, you have ads running. It's a little bit different. It's not so hands-on and intense, but you're still there and you have to deal with these leads. You have to be setting appointments, doing follow-up calls. So it just shifts as time goes on. But in the beginning, it's you got to build that snowball, man. You got to roll it down the hill.
Yeah, and it seems like that's synonymous with success in any business. Like you have to generate leads in the beginning and you got to do some groundwork. So just a couple more questions. Like, and I've never asked you this, but why did you choose EXP over all other brokerages out there?
I feel like EXP took what everyone else was doing right and did it better, and then everything they're doing wrong and fixed it. That's how I feel EXP was. When you're an agent who already kind of knows what they're doing, especially, right? It's good for new agents too, but if you're an agent who maybe has already kind of figured it out and you don't really need a broker to get in your way, because like I really hated the logistical stuff in the corporate aspect of most brokerages, right?
Yes.
I want to get a hold of somebody because you're in person. I can't, the broker's not there. I can't get a hold of them. They're telling me to email this person, wait. I'm waiting, 2 weeks to get paid for it to go through accounting. I'm like, dude, I'm paying for this in-person thing, but the dude's not here. I can't talk to that person. I can't meet with them. Why do we have an office?
Right.
Why do we have an office? All your trainings are during prospecting hours.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Versus like an EXP, I can go online and train whenever I want. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Then you have the rev share and you have the stocks and all that additional stuff. It's just like, man, growing a team. You can't franchise, but you can grow a team however you want with EXP. Made it easier for me to go nationwide.
So how many states are you in now?
13, about to be 14.
And where were you a year ago? Because I think you've been exploding lately,
Just in
bro.
Southern California. I was only in one city and one state.
That's crazy,
Yeah.
man. Okay. Well, that makes more sense. Like, cause you seem so happy, like being with EXP. At first, when you were exploding, I thought you left EXP and just had your own thing, 100%.
No,
I was like,
EXP.
really? Okay.
EXP.
So I know you played. So for those of you who don't know, Bryan actually played basketball overseas, and we connected well because we haven't played together, which we're gonna play probably next time I come to Miami, if he's up for it. But I want to know, like, how are some of the principles of basketball translated to what you do, with real estate?
Well, when you get to a certain level in athletics, a lot of it has to do with us and the work ethic that we put in. It's one of those things that you have to show up every day, even if you don't feel like it, right? You have a set of responsibilities, right, when you're on a team and you're expected to perform, and there's things that you need to do, there's fundamentals that you need to master in your sport, your respective sport. So there's a lot that gets built in your character. Now the disconnect for a lot of athletes is when they leave sports, they don't know how to translate that over into a new career, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like they just get depressed. I wanted to play basketball or play football or play soccer, and now I can't, and they become a victim, like, this is bullshit, if they would have put me in, back in '85, I'd be in the NBA right now, right? Like, they come up with those stories. But a lot, man, like, self-discipline, commitment, you know exactly what I'm talking about, bro.
Yeah.
I have a million of those stories, right? And I was like that too for a little bit. I was like, well, it's the injury's fault, it's not my fault, and why me? And I was only 24 when it happened, right?
Exactly.
Because I stopped playing because of injuries. So there's just so much that's built that if you translate it over, I said, okay, instead of getting onto the hardwood now and on the court, I'm going into the office. I'm still going to show up first and leave last. The fundamentals, learning communication, I just need to double down on this and learn it, right? There's a set of skills that I need to learn in this career. Okay, I'm going to learn it, right? I need a stronger work ethic than everybody else. I've already built it in basketball. I spend hours and hours every day, refining one little thing. Okay, my shooting technique for free throws, which then took my free throws from like 78% to like 90%, right? But it took months of work every day to do that. Same thing with specific techniques, in communication and your sales process. So I think it prepares you if you've treated sports the way you're supposed to treat it if you want to be at the top. Right? That will translate over if you allow it to when you do real estate or anything else. It's just a matter of understanding, hey, I'm not going to be dribbling the basketball anymore and dunking and running. You know, I'm going to be picking up the phone and meeting with people and conversing with them, right? So it's just a different application of the same things in a sense.
100%. And final question is like, what is the difference between chasing a client versus attracting a client from your perspective?
Well, I think everybody understands that line, right? Everybody knows that point when they're in a meeting and let's say they've asked the person to sign. You know when that moment happens where now you're insisting too much and you're now going out of the norm and insisting too much to where now it's uncomfortable and you're crossing that line. That's when you go from attracting to chasing.
Right.
Same thing when you're trying to get a hold of somebody, right? Let's say there's an agent who really wants the sale and really needs the money. Now they start calling them too much, right? But how do you really know? Well, you know because either you lose them, which is rare, by the way. Most people don't follow up enough. Very rarely does somebody lose somebody from following up too much, right?
100%.
But you know, it's almost like I tell people, you intuitively know when you're chasing now. Same thing, the best application of this is like dating, right?
Yes.
You know when you're talking to a girl, when you're doing it too much, you're texting too much, you know because you feel it. You may not admit it, but deep down inside you know. It's like you send that text or you make that call, and while you're doing it, you're like, man, I shouldn't be doing this. This is too much.
I'm blowing her up.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, it's difficult to get out of that because you've been doing it in every other area of your life for so long. So I tell people, look, you need to think of the perspective from the perspective of how can I appear and actually be the highest value possible. If I was the version of me that was already, for the realtors, selling 50 homes a year, how would I treat this lead? Would I be calling them too much? Right? Would I be sending them too many videos? No. Right? Same thing with setting the appointment. I would set the appointment, I would insist a little bit, but the moment that they demonstrated to me that they weren't interested, okay, I'd back off, put it in my database, and move on to the next. I wouldn't be like popping up over and over 3 times a day, hey, like, you know, when someone doesn't answer your text in 10 minutes and you're like, are you there? Are you alive? What's going on? Like, you don't do that if you're that high level person. So it's a matter of,
Don't be creepy.
yeah, it's a matter of understanding that perspective. How would I act if I was there? Compare that to what you're doing now, and you'll see the changes that you need to make. And now it's difficult because an internal process has to happen when you do that. Because people will say, well, you're faking it until you make it. No, you're creating it until you make it. I have to create that version of that person, of me that's selling 50 homes a year if I'm at 0. I need to create it. How do I create it? By molding myself after that person. There's nothing fake about that. Me building my empire, did I fake it until I made it?
Bars.
No, there was no faking about it. I just had to create it and get there. Right?
Yes.
So you'll see, and then you need to pay attention. When you make that mistake of doing it too much, you need to make a mental note. That was too much. I'm not going to do it again. So you're actively learning while you're doing these things because the mistakes are going to be made. Everything we went over here, you're going to mess it up. That happens. Now, are you going to mess it up once or 20 times? That's up to you. Because if you're paying attention and learning, you'll understand what was a mistake and you'll make the fix.
Yep.
That's exactly what you need to do. And if you do that, over time, you're going to refine these skills and you're going to become a lot better, and you'll become that person that sells 50, 100, 200, or whatever you want homes per year.
100%. Well, thank you so much, B.
Of course, man.
Much appreciated. So could you please tell them, I know like you've been dealing with some issues with social media, but could you please tell people how to find you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say Google me like I used to, but I don't think that's going to work anymore. I think the best way for you guys to find me is, you know, hit up somebody like Blake who does follow me, go under who he's following, and you'll find me, right? It's just my name altogether, Bryan Casella, but I know when you search now, it's tough to find. You might have to scroll all the way to the bottom. Do you even see my stories anymore?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't see your stories at all.
Maybe on YouTube, you can find me there, and I have the links in YouTube, but if you look for me a little harder, you'll find me. It just takes a little extra effort.
And it's worth it, man. I've learned so much value. I joined his group back in March. It's called Modern Success. So I'm going to post a link for that, too, in this video if you want to check it out. But, Bryan, man, thanks again for your time, and
Thanks, bro. Thank you
we'll
for
see you on
having
the next video.
Yep.
Peace.